Hi, I'm Barbara Ingram with Indigo Sea Glass, and today I'm going to take you along on our 2-week adventure to the Durham coast and show you exactly where to find all that great sea glass. Our adventure started in the small town of Easington, about 6 miles south of Seaham. We used to stay in Seaham and just go to the main beach there, but it's gotten way more expensive and crowded recently, and we just wanted to see some other nearby beaches. So we rented an Airbnb in Easington Colliery, which we knew was close to Easington Beach. Each day would start with putting on the rain gear, nylon waterproof pants, rain jacket, wool socks, hiking shoes, and of course ankle braces for all the rocks we had to climb. We were fortunate enough to have bikes there, which really helped us cover all the ground. We rode downhill all the way to Easington Beach, which of course meant it was uphill all the way back. There is a parking lot at the end of the road if you're driving. Then you would just continue on the bike path all the way to the beach. And the bike path on this part was paved, which was really nice to ride on. It was so beautiful there early in the morning watching the sunrise. There was a small bench at the entrance to the stairs to the beach, which was perfect for locking up the bikes. We did run across a number of people who didn't know that there were stairs at this beach and tried sliding down through the mud and the bushes. Just make sure you go to the second bench on the bike path. That's where the top of the stairs are. There are 112 stairs to be exact, and they're usually wet, muddy, and slippery. They're also all different heights, some of them coming up almost to my knees. It was a long way down, but the view was spectacular. This is the beach at low tide, and as you can see, it's full of rocks. There is no sand anywhere we could find on the Durham coast. But as we all know, rocks mean sea glass. Just be sure to bring good supportive shoes. We found some of our best glass on this beach. I really don't recommend attempting some of the others, which can be quite dangerous. We found dragon eggs, bubbles, bottle stoppers, dragon glass, and even black glass on this beach. But then we were also lucky enough to be there during Storm Kieran right after it blew through. You need to be aware that the tides come in really fast here, so don't get caught in one of the caves while the tides rush again. That's the cave I was searching in when the water suddenly came crashing into the mouth. Luckily, I was able to scramble out in between waves. The other thing I really enjoyed about Easington Beach was the waterfalls. They were just beautiful. But make sure you stay away from the cliffs because we did see and hear rocks falling while we were there. And we just found out last week, this is December 2023, that there was a massive landslide there and a coastal path above had to be closed. On this day, we decided to walk to the beach north of Easington to see what it was like. It was really difficult because the rocks were so big and we didn't find any glass there, so I probably wouldn't attempt it again. That's my cousin Fiona and me on the rocks as we made our way north. And you really get a sense of how big those rocks are when you can see Fiona walking way in the distance there. funny thing about finding sea glass here is that it's just sitting on top as if someone dropped it. So it's not hard to find. The hardest part is just getting to the beaches and all the walking back and forth on the rocks. The next stop was famed Shippersea Bay, but I have made a video dedicated to just that beach and how to navigate getting down that crazy goat path, so I won't go into too much detail here. We did try several paths to find the best one, first taking this one straight, but then it went left over the railroad tracks and we needed to go straight to go to Shippersea. So we went back and went around the coastal path, which was really close to the cliff's edge, and it was muddy, wet, and slippery, but it got us there. We took it all the way to Hawthorne Beach because that's where we were eventually going to lock our bikes up and then walk on the beach back south to Shippersea. We later found out that we could get around the railroad bridge by going around the trees, and it would take us to the path that went straight. So that was the best way to go. Now the third way is going straight up to the pit cage from the parking lot, crossing the railroad tracks, around the trees, and then on the straight path. So after 6 hours of trying that, we figured it out. Now this is Hawthorne, and when you go down, you have to go underneath the railroad trestle along the beach, and then you're going to hit a part that sticks out into the water right there. You can only get past it at or near low tide. So it can be really dangerous because you don't want to be trapped on Shippersea Bay and not be able to get up that slippery goat path. This is a view of the actual paths that we were taking along the water to get there. This is taken from the top of the hill where the pit cage is, and that's the way we ended up going after we had tried everything. The pit cage is really weird. It just sits on top of this hill like a monolith. That's it right there. But it was a lot easier. This is the path over the railroad tracks, and then once you figured out to go around the trees, then it would take you to a normal straight path that went through the fields. You just have to close the gates behind you where there are cows and sheep. This is the first coastal path that we took that's right on the edge of the cliff that was really muddy and difficult. We only did that once. So we finally got to the cliff's edge of Shippersea Bay, and we were very shocked to see a person down there, but it does give you some perspective as to how high those cliffs are. So we continued riding to Hawthorne Beach. We tied up our bikes at the top, went underneath this railroad bridge, and found the path down to the beach. There are several paths there. So some of them leave you stranded, like we ended up in a cave and didn't know how to get down. So we had to go back, found this path. I love how she holds that little twig for support. If I did that, I'd roll down the hill into the river. But anyway, we got down, and once you get past this slippery, steep part, then it's not so bad. Hawthorne Beach itself is nothing to write home about. There's not much there. We didn't find any glass there, but it's the only way to walk to Shippersea Bay if that's what you want to do. It's quite a long walk to Shippersea Bay from Hawthorne, and we had to leave really early just as it was getting light because low tide was at 5 and we had to get around that rock before the tide came in. So we got there around 7, and it was really calm that day, so we were very lucky. If it had been rough, I don't think we would have made it. So this is that span of rock, and it looks pretty shallow, but it was up to our knees at one point. Fiona took off her shoes. I had dive booties on, so I went first, and you have to hold on to the side of the cliff while you're trying to make your way about 20 feet through the water, and every now and then you'd step off a rock and you'd be up to your knees. But we made it. There it is. You can see it. Home of the famed dragon egg. And this is what Fiona found there. I took this on our way back, again at the top where the pit cage is. It's just so peaceful and quiet up there. It was really beautiful. The next day we decided to go to Seaham to check out the beach after the storm. So we rode our bikes from Easington to Hawthorne, which was actually south, to take the train north one stop to Seaham, but it was closer to ride to Hawthorne, which was only about 3 miles. And it's about a 1.5 mile walk from the Seaham train station to the beach. You can see it there in the distance, but it's a really nice walk. You go through the trees on this little path and it takes you out right into the town. We got there pretty early and I was surprised how many people were already on the beach. And there wasn't much glass there. All the conditions were perfect. Storm, the tide was right, there were rocks everywhere. The whole beach was covered in rocks, but we just didn't find much glass. Always having to run from those waves. So that's basically what I had to show for the first 2 hours. Then we walked around the point and down the north end of the beach, and there weren't as many people, but there also was almost no glass there. We also stopped at Red Acre Beach, which is right near the entrance to the lighthouse, but same thing. Conditions were perfect, but we just didn't find much glass. Since we were having kind of a bum day, we decided to go to the Black Truffle and have lunch. If you've never been there, you have to try their quiche, and their cakes are really good too. After lunch, we decided to go try Blast Beach, which is about a 1.5 miles south. And it's a long walk, but it's worth it. The entrance, however, is a little bit dangerous. It's muddy, wet, slippery, just like everything else, and you have to be really careful going down there. Even though they don't really have multis there, like the main Seaham Beach, they have really nice bubbles and those seafoam green stoppers. And so we've had luck there in the past. We have a system for going down steep hills like this, and we just sort of snake back and forth in a slalom pattern, and it's a little bit easier than going straight down. After about an hour there, we walked back into town and went to our favorite pub, the Hat and Feathers. So that about wraps it up. I hope this information comes in handy when you plan your next sea glass adventure to the Durham coast. I've got to say, this was the most strenuous, physically challenging thing I've ever done. Walking up to 15 miles a day, climbing cliffs, cycling through the mud, stumbling over rocks. We had such a sense of accomplishment when it was over, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything.